Hi, everybody. My name is Michael Dupuis. I've been in the club off and on since about 1989 or 1990, so it's been quite a while. This is the first total eclipse that I've seen, though. I've seen a couple annular eclipses, a couple lunar eclipses, but this is the first total solar eclipse that I've ever seen. This is just the title page. I wanted to give just a view of where the eclipse went. Originally, I had planned to go to somewhere in southwestern Arkansas. There's the world's only publicly accessible diamond mine in southwestern Arkansas. It's called the Crater of Diamonds State Park. And I thought it'd be really cool to watch the eclipse and dig up a couple diamonds. But my plans changed about 6 weeks before the eclipse. And so we ended up trying to find a different spot. And one, two, middle button. Nope. Next slide. How about if we just, yeah, there we go. So my destination was Muncie, Indiana. And I chose Muncie for a couple of different reasons. First of all, I had never been to Muncie, Indiana. So I thought it'd be an interesting place to go. Secondly, I wanted to avoid large crowds. And my reasoning for Muncie was Indianapolis is here, so all the people in Indianapolis would likely stay in Indianapolis. And all the people that were coming down from the Metro Detroit area would kind of filter into Ohio instead of Indiana. Next slide. But I had to contend with the expected 100,000 visitors, extra visitors that Muncie, Indiana had anticipated. So a friend and I drove down there the morning of the eclipse. There were high clouds. You'll be able to see that in some of the pictures. It wasn't at all, didn't obscure the eclipse at all. We were driving down I-69 and the roads were starting to get a little crowded. So we went off to the state roads and got into Muncie well before the other 99,998 people. Go ahead for the next slide. So Muncie was well prepared. They had eclipse flyers, they had t-shirts, they had sweatshirts. They had several different venues for viewing the eclipse for the visitors. They had already sold out of some of the t-shirts and sweatshirts that were my size, so I didn't manage to get one of those. But we did manage to get something to eat and then had a chance to try to find our spot for the eclipse. And the next slide will show among the throngs of people downtown. Yeah, exactly. There's nobody there, oddly enough. You may be able to see 3 or 4 people here. And this was after lunch. This was at like 12:30 in the afternoon, downtown Muncie, Indiana. I'm not sure if all the other people got lost or... but one other reason that I wanted to go to Muncie, Indiana is just like the local news says, there's a Kalamazoo connection to Muncie, Indiana. And I don't know if anyone knows what that is, but we'll go to the next slide. So Muncie is also the home to the Academy of Model Aeronautics. It's the kind of umbrella organization for everything related to model flight control line, radio control, free flight, rubber band, anything and everything airplane related. So they had flight simulators, they had flight demonstrations, and they let us into the museum for free. And even at the Academy of Model Aeronautics, there were, well, I just saw it in the on the web last night when I was looking for the estimates. They estimated that they had about 1,000 people at the headquarters for the eclipse. But the headquarters here is about 2,500 acres. They have several flying fields, they have several ponds and demonstration areas. And so it didn't seem like there was anybody there at all. You can go to the next slide. So here's the Kalamazoo connection to Muncie, Indiana. I don't know if anyone recognizes this or not, but there were two brothers named Walter and William Good, and they were from Kalamazoo. And it's generally acknowledged and recognized that in 1937, they used this airplane here to conduct the world's first model airplane flight by radio that was controlled by radio control. One of the brothers was a ham radio operator. The other one liked building airplanes. So they had a joint project, came together and created the world's first radio controlled airplane. And this is actually a reproduction of the airplane. The original one is it's such a significant event that the original one and the radio are in the Smithsonian Institution in Washington, D.C. So next slide, I think we'll show a picture of the brothers. There they are. They also won the contest for radio-controlled airplanes. The AMA also sponsors and sets rules for the different flying contests. And they won the contest in 1938, 1940, and 1947. So pretty significant event. And I didn't mention that the flight that they made was made here in Kalamazoo at the Kalamazoo Airport in 1937. So we'll actually get to the eclipse now. But that's the Kalamazoo connection. So I went with a minimalist kind of gear, just a short tube 80 with the solar filter on it, on a tripod, zoom eyepiece. And you can see here some of the 1,000 people that were there. And that, yeah, I have no idea. But you can see the high, thin clouds, and they kind of came and they kind of went during the course of the eclipse. And the whole thing was, there were a few other people, probably 20 people in this area where I was that were actually viewing the eclipse. Someone had out a big white sheet and was looking for shadow bands. We never did see any shadow bands. But I'm glad I had the telescope. I kind of threw that in the truck at the very last moment. The eclipse went on as expected. Nothing was really happening except the sun was getting smaller for most of it. And we saw the Bailey's beads, we saw the diamond ring. And then when totality came, this is the only picture that I have on the next slide of totality. That's it, a blurry picture from my cell phone. It was, Muncie, Indiana had about 3 minutes and 45 seconds of totality, and it went like a snap of the finger. It went so quickly. I was looking around, looking at the other people who were gasping and clapping and saying woohoo. And we're looking through the telescope. We saw a picture like the picture that Richard put in the newsletter with the prominences on the bottom and on the side. It was pretty amazing. And then just about as soon as it started, it was over. And most of the people left. The 100,000 people left well before us. So on the way back, when we were, whenever we were stopped in traffic, we would just turn on a side road. So we kind of fishtailed and wiggled our way all the way back to Kalamazoo. And the other connection here is on the next slide. We stopped in Warsaw, Indiana, for some Mexican food. And it's not the Mexican food that's the connection. It's the Warsaw we used to have an astronomy club. And the Warsaw group used to be part of what they called the Northern Indiana Astronomical Group, which included the South Bend Club and also the Mishawaka Club. And they sponsored a regional meeting for what is it? The Niagara Fest, yeah. So several of us had been down to that star party 3 or 4, half a dozen times in years past. I'm not sure if they're still running that or not, but that was the other connection that we kind of ran into. It was just dinner time. We stopped at the next town and we ended up in Warsaw, Indiana. So all in all, it was a great trip. My first total solar eclipse. And actually, I was kind of surprised at how small the sun actually is. I've never seen it eclipse like that before. When you try to look at it, it looks so bright and so big that you can't even you can't even look at it because it's so bright. But when it's eclipsed like that, you really realize how small it actually is, about a half a degree. And that was kind of a revelation for me. So that's about it. That's all I got.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having us do this. This eclipse was this presentation. I thank Ellen and Jeannie, and I was involved in putting this together too. So, at any rate, so go to the next slide, please. Now, this is not the eclipse of this past or a month ago, or less than a month ago. This was the one in 2017, and clouds in Nebraska, wind, rain, so bad time. It was a good time, but it was a bad time. Best of times and the worst of times. And the umbrella was inside out too, so that was the best thing that happened that day. But it wasn't that. It was next. This, okay? So I'm 1 for 2. 1 for 2. We are 1 for 2 because Ellen was there at the other one too. So, but we went with not Ellen and I also went with our middle daughter Jeannie. So next slide, you'll see her, and they're looking at. I think they're looking at the eclipse, and but to tell you where we're at, what we did was go to the next slide, please. We actually visited Jeannie, and she lives in Louisville. I guess, where's my pointer? No, thanks.
Bottom button.
Bottom button. Okay. Yeah, she lives in Louisville, somewhere in here. And we did some stuff in Louisville for a few days. And then on Monday, we traveled up to Paoli, Indiana. I'm not sure how you pronounce that word. I probably should have found that out before. But basically, we traveled the road. No real problems getting there. Little bit of a problem at one of these roads. There was a 4-way stop, and it just couldn't handle the extra traffic. But for the most part, it wasn't bad. It really wasn't bad getting up there. It took us about an hour and a half. Doesn't look like an hour and a half drive, but it was. Now, before the eclipse, I was warned by a good friend of mine, Carl Wenning. Do you know Carl Wenning? He used to run the planetarium down in Illinois State. But anyway, he said your electronics might work, so might not work because everybody might be trying to use all the cell towers and everything. So I made a map with 0 minutes. We want to be above this line, and we actually want to be above the 2-minute line. And this town here, which wasn't too far from here, was almost at the 3-minute line. So I thought that's good enough. We were originally planning on going to Bloomington to see another friend of ours, but I thought this is good enough. So the next slide will show a little bit closer in. That's the town. That's the road we took to get there. And there's actually a ski resort. Where is that? Where am I looking? Oh, right there. I don't know how they survive because it seems like they would get even less snow than we do here. But at any rate, so next slide shows the town circle, town square basically, but this traffic circle, that's where we were, kind of on the southwest side. Here's the county clerk building, which you'll see a picture of. And here is the Mexican restaurant, another Mexican restaurant, Mike, El Compadre. And that place, we ate lunch there, we ate dinner, and we drinks and whatever else we needed. They were very good to us. But a number of people were right in this knoll area. Next slide.
There's my uncle, by the way, George R. Bell, D&D.
Oh yeah. This is a Mexican restaurant. And when we had to get away from the sun, get out of the sun and all that, and just relax. The next slide shows they were very nice to us. This is really amazing, this building here, Orange County Clerk Building, and that was on the top of that knoll that's in the center of the circle there. And next slide will just show people gathering around. Kind of looks like a college campus at this point during the spring, and the people are just enjoying the. I'm not sure if this is before or during the partial phase or not, but next slide, just another slide like that. So because Richard told us not to do this, I put in about 40 eclipse photos taken by a handheld camera. So they're all blurry. No, go ahead to the next slide.
Okay.
That just took this is through my telescope, kind of halfway into the first part of the partial, or the partial phase going in. Next slide will show.
Down someone's mouth.
It's all this is a handheld Ellen's camera. I handheld it, you know, and took the picture. These are the best of those lousy pictures. But you notice the one thing I want to point out here, though, is that the crescent is not as long. It's not as much of an arc. Perigee was April 7th, so the moon was the closest to the Earth on April 7th, which is probably the reason why we got such a long eclipse, totality, and the reason that the moon is kind of, or the sun is kind of chopped off here. The other eclipse, the one in 2017, we were just 2 days before apogee, which was when the moon was the farthest away. So the eclipse was shorter in that bad eclipse a few years ago. Okay, next slide is. Now I took this picture, total eclipse without the filter on the telescope, and everybody's saying, "Oh, that's such a great picture." This is a terrible picture. You can't, but at any rate, whatever. Go on. Next slide. And then this is coming out of the eclipse, and another one. Next slide. There we go. And there's a little sunspot. There's a pretty big sunspot there, but you can't see it too good in this picture. But anyway, we'll go back to totality by looking at the next slide. When it was total, street lights were on. I'm gonna have to call them up and talk mean to them about the street lights, all that light pollution. Notice the dark sky and the clouds. The clouds are cool, but they didn't interfere with the viewing of the eclipse at all. Not during totality. Okay, next. These are people, and look how dark that sky is. Now, does anybody notice anything funny about this picture? What?
Still wearing it.
They're still wearing their glasses. Why are these guys still wearing their glasses? Now, I think some of them are thinking about taking them off here, but it's like, I didn't even notice that until just this week. But next slide. What's that? I should have. Okay, next slide. Now these are people a little closer to where we were, and some of these people probably looked through my telescope and everything. This guy here, he was like the ringleader. He was just kind of the MC. He'd tell us, he'd count down and he'd say, you know, everybody cheer and all that stuff. So he was fun to have around. But you see how dark the sky was, kind of a deep twilight. Anyway, go ahead. Next slide, please. This is a picture that Ellen took of totality. Again, no tripod, just holding it steady, hand. You know, not bad for that, really. And the next one is one Jeannie took. She's, you know, younger and, you know, a little more, they're all nervous, all the young people. Anyway, but this one is a little bit more of an exposure, but I include this because you can see Venus there, it's that dash, and then Jupiter's down there. I didn't see much else. I just saw those two. What? Yeah. Okay, next. So I got 2 more slides and I'm done. I mean, this one is 2 and then 1 more after this. So what do we observe? Before I forget, I forgot to put this on here. The temperature dropped about 10 degrees. I was wearing this. In fact, I haven't changed my clothes since the eclipse. No, but I was getting hot. It was like the upper 70s, but the sun was coming down. It was getting no wind. It was hot. I was getting hot, but I got comfortable when it got to that point where the sun was just about getting covered up. I noticed it was getting cooler, and I thought, oh, this is nice. And I talked about the crescent already, but right before totality and right after, the lighting looked very strange. Like it still looked fairly bright, a little bit dimmer, but it looked like it was very white light, or very, like the LED awful lights that you see when you're driving and headlights are coming at you. That it was just kind of a funny color. Didn't seem like the right color. Did see the shadow bands afterwards. I tried to take a video of it. Didn't work, but I did see them. we know, I think Jeannie noticed this especially, and maybe Ellen, birds were flying high up in the sky, like they were, like Mike mentioned, they were doing something. Didn't notice much else about the wildlife there. We already did that. Deep twilight. Oh, and the solar prominence, which was red, kind of a reddish, more reddish color than in, I'm not sure where I got this picture. Maybe I got it from you, Richard. I don't know, but okay. But at any rate, this was easily visible. Yeah, yours is better. Okay, so that's what we saw. I mean, I think we saw some other stuff or noticed some other things, but I don't remember at the moment. So last slide. So what was learned between these 2 years? When you go to see an eclipse, and I think Mike did this, have another purpose in there that's equally, if not more important than seeing the eclipse. That way, if it doesn't work, you got, well, we did this. So we saw Jeannie. We went to see Jeannie. Eclipse letdown, you talk about that in your newsletter. I read your newsletter. The letdown, it's an illusion. It's because there's all these spectacular things in the sky you can look at just about, well, not in Michigan all the time, but lots of times. But because you see them all the time, you don't think that much of them. You kind of take them for granted. That's the same thing. It's an illusion. You don't have to be let down. There's lots of cool things to see, like the moon, for example. Okay, now is Joe an eclipse chaser? No. This was fun. It was spectacular, but like I said up here, there's all kinds of spectacular things to see in God's creation, whether up in the sky or down here. Appreciate it. It's great. So that's it.
Okay, thank you. This is my first solar eclipse, at least totality. And really it's all about my family going. Usually you guys know me as an astrophotographer, but I wanted to make this more about my family too. So a lot of the stuff here is going to be there about what we did, and some pictures because, you know, I'm an astrophotographer. So go ahead next. So DLDR, which means too long did not read, but the short version is totally worth it. And I really didn't mean to use totally to play it off the eclipse, but yeah, it was an amazing experience. Just everyone knows that, you see it. But definitely it was worth it from our family to what I did. It was great. Okay, next. So this is the game plan. KS, we decided, you know, originally go down to Chalk Bluff, which is the little X here. So I had booked airline tickets and the whole stuff. We flew into Houston, and we would go over to San Antonio for the night, and then day of eclipse, we would go there. You know, cloud models, forecasts, all that good stuff showed clouds, less clouds, maybe some sunshine up around Dallas. So about 4 or 5 days before the eclipse, I found a resort in our Holiday Inn or whatever that had an opening. So I booked it right away. And so that was the new plan. We would fly into Houston and then drive up to Dallas, which was crazy because we actually had a connection in Dallas. So we were real close to the hotel, go down to Houston. But it all worked out. Go ahead. So Grand Prairie, that's where we were. It's right between Dallas. It's right off the highway, actually. It was very convenient. We had 3 minutes, 42 seconds worth of totality, which I figured is not too bad for a last second change. I looked at doing stuff on the center line, but I just wanted to have convenience, you know, be at the hotel, go outside and do all that fun stuff. So, plus there was a giant indoor water park next door. So the kids, that was part of the adventure. So next, there will be no pictures of swimsuits of me. So the nice thing about our hotel is they had a giant parking ramp. And I'm like, hey, that'd be a great place to set up. And so I drove up there and I'm looking around at it and I'm like, okay, this will work out. And since I did have my computer with me in the corner, there was actually an AC outlet that was still turned on. So, so quick trip down to the dollar store for like an extension cord. I didn't have to worry. I had all sorts of plans. I had rented the Suburban because it had the AC outlets and all that stuff in it. Didn't need that, but I figured this would be the best spot because, hey, everyone's going to be on the ground. Okay, next picture. The night before, it was perfectly clear the whole day. I mean, I don't know what the odds of, on Sunday, the day before an eclipse, it's totally clear. Well, it happened. It was a beautiful day. We did the water park. We had a great time. So next slide. Whoa. So this is my custom setup I've had. I got travel luggage. Since I had my laptop when I was decided that I can't see the screen when the sun's out. I didn't think about this. So my daughter went down to the front desk and we got a box of paper. I got some blue painter tape. I don't know why I was carrying blue painter tape in my backpack, but I had that. Very custom setup. I had a 61 millimeter refractor, a little Nikon camera, my Bogan tripod. It's a ball head. And right here is a little geared head. So, you could just turn it and do all your motions. So, but this was my custom setup. I might market it if there's interest. But it worked out. Actually, the clutch thing was the luggage. I made a perfect little table to move around. Go ahead, next. So my plan for being the only one up there didn't work out because about an hour later, slowly we had one person show up and it wasn't bad. And the next thing you know, it's just everyone was coming up. But that was fine. It was more the merrier. Had a couple guys that were actually behind me from this picture. They were asking me a ton of questions. I actually handed out a lot of KS solar eclipse classes that were in the little packets with the little information so they could answer their questions with that. So it was really good. Go ahead, next. Okay, yeah, so like I said, whoa, did I actually change it?
It worked.
Wow, okay, can you go back? About right after I set up, I was trying to get the sun center. It's kind of a pain kind of going up, down, going up like that. And I said, I could just crank the head back and pretend this is an equatorial mount, and it actually worked. So during the eclipse, I only had one knob I had to turn pretty much all the time. So that worked out really well. I had my laptop. The software I used was Backyard, Nikon, Backyard EOS. I think that's the name of it. Worked out really well. I had printed out the times I need to take pictures. And really, it looks like it's a busy schedule, but most of the time it's like 10 minutes, partial phase. And then during totality, I had it pre-programmed I said hit the button and do its thing. So that's the most technical I got with this. Can you play this video, start this video? This is a video I shot with my iPhone. I got a little excited. If you notice down here, the cars were parked in the middle aisle. Yeah, I was yelling at the clouds. You can see them. Fires.
There.
Oh, that was my daughter pointing out. She saw the prominences off the bottom, which I did not see. I feel ashamed.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, that was, yeah, fist pump, all that good stuff. Okay, let's see if I can get this and move forward. So, yeah, whoops. Oh, nope, back up. Oh, nope. Okay, we're getting out of control here.
Back one.
Forward one. Okay. One more. Yeah. So this is my family. They had 6 of us. Actually, it's a big adventure because my daughters never flew before. So that was an adventure. We got our KS classes. It was just, it was a blast. Yeah, it was so cool. Okay, let's see if I can get now pictures. I did take pictures. So through the, fortunately, I actually focused it fairly well. I was really worried about that. Left side was obviously during totality right at the very end. I think I started getting a little bit of the Bailey's beads going. The prominences were going all crazy. It was really neat because the prominences were over on the other side too in the early on photos. And I had noticed it as I was looking through the pictures. I'm like, hey, look at that. The moon's starting to cover up the other ones. And then on the one on the right is the composite of all the exposures from 1/2 second to 1/1000th of a second, using the KS SIGs tutorial that Alan Dyer did. Really made a huge effect on there. Had a really nice, you really can't see it here, but the earth shine off the moon was pretty cool in the picture. So let's see here. And finally, this is the Holy Grail. This is what I had been dreaming about, getting this picture for a long time. So I fortunately it was clear, I mean dead clear for all these exposures. And I ended up printing this recently at 12 by 36, and now it's on my wall. It's just humongous. Took a couple test prints to make sure all the settings were right, but yeah, very happy with that. And then the sad part, I heard stories, and I thought I escaped this because we waited till the end of the partial phase. I'm like, everyone's going to clear out. They did. We were heading down toward the highway. We stopped at the gas station, get the snacks, and then for a half hour, it was perfectly clear. I'm like, yes, perfect. Everyone thought Texas was going to be cloudy, and they left. No, this was a half hour later. It took us 2.5 hours to go from Houston to Dallas, no problem. We ended up actually spending 10.5 hours going back the other way. It was bonkers. It was like this type of traffic, and what was really fun was every so often you get a guy in a big Texas truck decide, hey, I'm going to go over to this road, and you just drive off the highway, go through all the grass, and it didn't work because they'd get to those intersections in towns and there'd be like 500 people there. So by the time I'd catch up to him, and then he'd go ahead, but we made it an adventure. Everyone was pretty good. But yeah, I don't think it was as bad as what it was out west for 2017. Is it? Nothing. Okay. And then we spent the rest of the week in Galveston. Eclipses are tiring. I was at the beach. One thing astronomy related was, since we're on the Gulf at night, it was clear. I've never seen it dark down that low, because the next town is like Mexico, 700 miles to the south. That was amazing. I mean, I've been to Texas Star Party, and you have the little stuff, and you have little sky domes, but yeah, astronomy related, but yeah, relaxing. And when is the next one? I'm ready. I'm ready for, at least in the United States. I don't know if I'm ready to go flying.
20 years here.
Yeah. Okay. I'll be in my 70s. Yeah. And that's it. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Pete.
But to start off, my name is Mike Patton. I've been a club member for, I really don't know how long. And what I'm going to show you tonight is what you missed by not going to Chalk Bluff. I was committed to Chalk Bluff come hell or high water because I was on my way home from Arizona for the summer. Chalk Bluff was on the way. So we called about a year in advance and made reservations. And as you'll see, I made a fatal mistake. I told them it was just my wife and I traveling. We don't require a lot of accommodations. And to the credit of Chalk Bluff, they gave me what I asked for. So you'll see by the end of this, I'm not a paid actor advertising Chalk Bluff. This is just a scene of what Chalk Bluff that was out of our door. You can go to the next one. Another view of the river. It was kind of dry. That part of Texas is dry naturally. And the only thing I saw anybody raised out there were goats. There were thousands of goats. I never saw a horse or a cow. Go ahead. This is one of the cabins we stayed in. When I called and I said that we don't require a lot of facilities, she says, well, we'll put you in one of the dwarf cabins. Now, I thought a dwarf cabin was just a small cabin, right? I get there and I'm at Sneezy. Rick Benno, they put him in Grumpy. And that's how they named all their cabins out there. And you'll see on the inside, I was grumpy. Go ahead. That was our kitchen table. I found it interesting how they attached the steel poles right into the concrete. It's been there a while. And you couldn't sit on the seats, you get a sliver, they'd break. Go ahead, Richard. This is where the rich people lived. People that had campers and trailers. It's a huge facility, by the way. There's probably, I'm gonna guess 80, 90 cabins there. Most of them are for big groups, like 10 people. I think Dave Miller was over this area. I saw where you guys had reserved an area, big piece of empty grass that they had set aside. But they had all types of camping. They had this type, glamping they had dried camping where kids with just tents with nothing. And so it was and it had new owners. They had a dance one night, we were there. And they had people dressed up as the sun and the moon dancing in front of each other. It was a little corny at times. The next slide, you're going to see why I was grumpy. Oh no, that's the biggest piece of the chalk bluff. Actually, it's their beach. If you can see, these are pebbles. You can't walk barefoot on that beach, and you can't walk into the water without shoes on. So it was there was nobody in the water. It's the wrong time of year, but it's really a spectacular bluff, I guess. And all through all of the bluff, I've never seen so many vultures in my life. Hundreds of them. And during totality, they all grouped together. They flew very low and came right in front of where our cabin was. Go to the next one. This is our room. Nice chandelier. It's nothing. It's a 40-watt bulb you can't read by. Yeah, I really wanted to meet the interior designer who measured the curtains. And it gets worse. Go to the next one. How do you miss the measurement that bad? And on top of this, my toilet didn't work the first 2 days. So I was grumpy. Go ahead. These are my neighbors. Woke me up every morning. There were a lot of vultures out there. I don't know what dies all the time, but God, there are a lot of them. They fly right along that bluff. Go ahead. This is the combination. They provide no sheets, no pillows, no towels, nothing. They don't provide anything. And there was a note on the door to mop the floor when we left, and we went. But you can see I used a towel for a pillow that night, for 3 nights. There's a 3-night minimum. I was paying over $250 a night. Or yeah, that's right. So I was a little disappointed. Go to the next one. And ladybugs was the theme. For any of you guys that want to do some remodeling at home this year, it's ladybugs. Now, the day of the eclipse, we got up in the morning, it was a clear sky. During the morning, it started to cloud up, and I mean really cloud up, to where at half hour before totality, it's raining. And the sun was, God, I see it was like straight up because I couldn't even bend over and find it. And it was raining on our equipment. And about 15 minutes before totality, I said, I can't leave. It's pointless to point a telescope up into the rain because your lens is just going to get messed. So I took everything down. I had it laying on the bed, drying. And my wife had a big pair of Celestron binoculars. This is her second one. It's my third. She says, "Oh, I can see it." And I go, "Holy crap! I'm in the room, right?" I start putting everything back together, and I go out there and I lay on that dining room table that I showed you. I'm shooting straight up, and this is the result of shooting through a lot of clouds, with no openings ever occurring. Go to the first one.
Right.
Okay, that's one of that's right through the dead of the clouds, man. I could barely make it out with the camera. I took the camera, just set it to automatic, All I wanted was something I could hang on the wall and say I was there. And that's the prominence. Let's go another one. This one turned out better than I thought it was going to. I expected to see zero prominence, and I'm not sure if that's prominence or clouds. I really can't tell. Huh? Corona, I mean. The corona. Go ahead. So I took about 30, 40 pictures. I narrowed it down to these are the best 4. One more. My back hurt for playing on that rough cement. I think that's it, is it? Now, are you guys all worried about the traffic leaving? When I booked here at this place, it was a 3-day minimum. I said, well, that's great. Day before, day of, day after, crowd's clear. The day after, we headed up to Waco, was on the way up to Memphis. We got into the worst rainstorm I'd ever been in my life. I was literally stopped on the expressway, unable to move. I had a semi behind me and a semi in front of me, and they had stopped because I couldn't see. Got in going through the town of Waco, the water was up to the middle of my doors. I lost 3 hours of driving the first day. What was a 12-hour day planned was a 15-hour day actual. So we had our issues too. The one thing I'll tell you though, is when it got dark with all those clouds and the totality, it was like 9 o'clock here in Michigan right now. It was just dark. And those vultures all gathered up and back and forth. That's all I've got.
All right. So hi, everybody. I'm Duane Weller, and it's my wife, Katie. And this is our eclipse story, I guess. We also were committed to Chalk Bluff because there was some other things that we wanted to do. And this was our second eclipse. We saw 2017. And to be honest, we couldn't have had a better experience in 2017. It was just fantastic. Sometime we should do that presentation for you because it was, the realization was it's never going to be that good again. So we're just going to go and enjoy. What happens if it gets clouded out, it gets clouded out, and we weren't really that concerned about it because we did want to do some other things, but let's see. All right, so this is us just before we left. We're on our way out the door. But before we decided to go, and even with the 2017 eclipse, we tried to do some testing ahead of time because I had quite a bit of equipment that I wanted to take, and Katie decided that after testing, she decided that, well, with the clouds and whatnot, she wasn't going to use her big telescope. But I took all of my gear, and so what we did is we went out, we tested, and that's actually revealing. When we tested for the 2017 eclipse, I kind of found that I had power issues and all kinds of things that came up just as part of testing. So this time I wanted to make sure that I had everything working for this eclipse, and so we went out, we checked. The only thing that I ended up changing was that my computer screen realized that I had just like you, I had all this reflection in it, and I didn't know what to do with that. So I put one of those computer screen covers on it so that I could see the screen a little better in the sunlight. And then for those people who want to know, this is my 100mm f7 stellar view on an AVX mount, Canon 70D. This is almost perfect. For the 2017 one, I had an old, was it? It was a Celestron F10, 4-inch F10. It was kind of a crappy telescope, but it was did a fairly small field of view, and I didn't really feel like I got some of the bigger scope things that I wanted to with that one. So I thought maybe if I went back to an F7, I'd be right there. Of course, I'm running a Mac, so I was using Solar Eclipse Maestro, which I used in 2017, and it worked flawlessly. And then as my backup, I had a second body and my Sigma 150 to 600. So this was our path down there. We stopped three times on the way. One in I guess that's Illinois, and then Arkansas, and then we stayed in Austin just Saturday night. Yeah. So it was 23 hours each way, roughly. It's a long trip because, driving, we decided to drive because I had all the gear to take with us. And then we left Thursday and we'd arrive in Uvalde on Sunday. Along the way, we went through St. Louis and drove down Route 66, and we decided that this town here couldn't afford to buy everybody solar glasses, so they just bought one pair for everybody. But yeah, we stopped at a Buc-ee's. That was interesting. Yeah. So this is a map of where we were at, or where we were going to end up at here in Chalk Bluff. And the start was going to be around noon, with the start of totality at 1:29. And then max eclipse was 1:31 and end of totality 1:33. So, and then if you notice, we drove across Sunday, we drove across from Austin, we drove around San Antonio and kind of did the back roads all the way over to Uvalde. But that was how we got over there. When you got into Texas, they had all kinds of stuff set up, tables with all kinds of information about where to stay, where to see the eclipse and everything. They were all set. And then we got into Austin, and we love the Alamo when it was here. It was one of our favorite things. So we decided we're going to go to the Alamo. And it just so happens that whole week they were running movies with eclipses in them. So we got to see Pitch Black that night, which, if you know anything about that, eclipse features very, very prominently in that movie. So that was so cool. And then Sunday morning we got up and she wanted to go see the wildflowers. So we went over to the Lady Bird Johnson's Wildflower Center, and it was packed with people, probably because everybody was there for the eclipse and just needed something to do until until Monday. But so I got this Saturday night. This is Chalk Bluff. This is what the sky looked like at night. I took this with my star tracker. This is a composite, but yeah, it pretty much looked like that. You'd look up and it was like stars everywhere. It's amazing. So on the day of the eclipse came, and here we are with our shades on, kind of going, clouds. Yeah, there's Mike. He was 2 doors down from us, or 3 doors down from us, and yeah. So just like you said, right about little after 1 o'clock, sky just started opening up. I had set all my gear up in the morning, so I knew I was tracking the sun. I was ready to go, and it was starting to take pictures, but
I can guarantee you he has never taken his equipment down so fast before in his life. It was amazing.
yeah, the sky just opened up and it was pouring on stuff, and I was like, all right, fine, we're not going to get anything. So we took all my gear out and put it back in the cabin, and but then it cleared up a little bit, enough that we could see it. So I went to my backup, and this is actually me shooting just laying there on the bench shooting upward, because like you said, it was like right above us. So Katie took these panos, and this is really, really cool, I think, because we just happened to leave the lights on in the cabin. We were right on the end, and you can see the difference. All right, bonus, if anybody can tell me where this quote came from. No? No?
It's from a movie called Lady Hawk, which also features an eclipse.
Yes. Oh. So we thought that was cool. So we got a lot of pictures like this through the clouds. It just kind of looked like, I don't know. But eventually it cleared up enough where we could see the crescent. And the cool thing about the clouds and with the crescent is that we didn't need our glasses. The clouds obscured it so much that you could look right up and see the crescent without needing your glasses on. I mean, it was that obscure, but you could see it. And every once in a while, little bright spots would poke through. And then until we got down, we're just a sliver. And then we saw totality. So again, I'm just hand holding this. So some of these are a little fuzzy, but I don't know if it's because it was the clouds or if it was because I was shaking there trying to get some clean shots. But and then Katie got a real nice shot that does show the prominences. I don't know how you got that, because I
have no idea.
saw them for just
No
an
idea.
instant, and then they were gone. And anyways, so there's increased magnification there. And then I'm so happy with this one. In 2017, she was the one who got the ring. This time I got it. So I was like, yeah, cool. I finally got my ring. Even if it's obscured, I kind of like this one because it's so mysterious with the clouds in front of it. But so then it was over. Then we moved on. We went over to Houston, went to the Space Center Houston, which if you've never been there, this is a cool place. This is me standing in front of the Saturn V rocket engines. I was like, yeah, you can actually go through the shuttle, it's the shuttle Independence, which was a test shuttle riding on top of the Boeing, and you can get inside that and tour it and see the cockpit and everything. That was really cool.
Also, if you have a membership at an ASTC museum, you can get in for free. And when you decide to take the tram across the highway to Johnson Space Center to see the Saturn V rocket, you can walk past hundreds and hundreds of people waiting in line and get into the front of the tram with the other members and go first.
Yeah,
That was amazing.
I was actually feeling guilty. I was like, how can we get by all these people? It was like a line a mile long.
I'm sorry.
But yeah, they treated us like members there. It was great. And then of course we went birding because that was the other thing down because it was the height of the migration. And so there's lots of birds to see. So yeah, we had a fun trip. That's our last slide. So, all right.
Okay, hello, everybody. My name's Dave Garten. I've been a member for what, late 70s, I think I joined or something. This is actually my fourth eclipse, 3 totals and 1 annular. This one I decided to do a little bit different. I didn't want to bring my telescope. This here and my cell phone is all I brought. And I couldn't have been happier, actually. This camera is an old Canon. It's designed for astrophotography. It picks up hydrogen for taking astrophotography, and that's why I choose this. I actually had clouds, and I'm glad. I couldn't believe it. I arrived in San Antonio the Friday before, got checked in the hotel, checked the weatherman. He's nothing but bad news. And so, okay, I got 3 more days. Saturday, weatherman's more bad news. And basically what I got from him is head north. And that's basically, as I said, go for the high clouds. And I guess that's what I did. But I had some time to waste there. I was in San Antonio, and I don't know if anybody ever heard of the Riverwalk. It's an awesome place. This is one of the trees at night there, and I just took a quick picture of it. It's all lit up. You can go to the next one, Richard. I just took different pictures there at nighttime, and it's lit up. It's kind of nice little waterfall there, and you can get lost in this thing. It's like a Mediterranean city under the city. So it goes off in all different directions. Plenty of bars, restaurants. There's got an outdoor theater where bands can play, or anybody can go up and dancing for a crowd or whatever they want to do. Next picture there. I said it just goes along the stream there. It goes on forever. Plenty of lights. Next one. And there it is, that little waterfall. That's all the shots I took at nighttime. I went there mostly during the day. I just wanted to check it out at night because I seen the lights up in the trees and I wanted to check it out. So as I said, this was all the equipment I brought. I wasn't planning on taking photos. I actually was going to use photos on my phone and take it at the same time, and that's what I did. I started both of the videos. Videos are nice, actually. You can start like 10 minutes before the eclipse and just let it go, and just remember to take the filters off, totality and all that. So I got them both lined up and started going pretty good. And so I got tired of the video on my phone because I'm videotaping that. And I said, well, I'll start taking some pictures here. And it was towards the end of the eclipse. So next picture. Oh, I forgot this one here. This is called the Stargazer statue. It's kind of the focal point in the Riverwalk. It goes off in 3 directions, and every direction you can go out and spend a different day. It's really fun. It's check it out. So that was kind of interesting. So the next picture, this is what I just took on a tripod. I mounted my cell phone on a tripod, and that's what I took. I took several ones, and I got one, but this was just the best one. And if I had to do it all over again, I wouldn't have taken the video with this, and I would have just zoomed in and started taking more pictures with my cell phone. But I just started to do that at the end of the last minute. I said, well, heck, I'll take the video off and start taking. So I thought, as you can see, the clouds. But the Riverwalk and all that was fantastic. And the video I took, I didn't bring my laptop with me, and I didn't really realize how good it was until I got home. So if You can start the video there, Richard. This is okay, it's an 8-minute video, about 4 minutes. This is just 4 minutes before, and just getting set up and get it centered and all this and that. And you get a few, and it gets towards totality there. I was taking the filter off, I get real bright white and too soon. So I did that 2 or 3 times, like there, because it seemed like it took forever to get to totality. So go ahead and fast forward to about 2:30, and was it 2 minutes and 30 seconds? And pause it there for a second. Good enough, and pause it. Okay, this is the beginning of it right here. And I think I timed it perfectly when I pulled the filter off. You're gonna see the diamond ring just come down and shrink. And it actually is the first time I actually seen the diamond ring with my own eyes, because I was too busy with my telescopes and everything, the other eclipses. So this video is kind of long. It's a 5-minute video. I swear I was feet from the center line. And there's a couple birds that fly by, an airplane that flies by, and there was an earthquake, I call it. But what happened, one of the legs here sunk in the dirt, and luckily I was right there and seen it. And I had my little camera window here, and I didn't have that screen on there, and I'm sitting there adjusting around. So I got it back in center after about 15, 20 seconds. So go ahead and play the video, and it'd almost be too boring. I say that it's a long video. Well, I got 8 seconds, well, 7. Okay, this is just for towards totality here. I should go bright. And this is the first part, is one of the best parts. I actually get to see a little more detail, but I think the clouds actually acted like a secondary filter almost to get more of the corona there. The corona gets bigger here slowly over time and all that. But I just said, I was amazed. I had the focal length set at about 140 on the telephoto lens. If I had to do it all over again, I think I might bump it up to 150, maybe just a touch, not much, but I said, you're going to get bored. It's a long video, but yeah, I said, I was, there goes a bird. There's another one that'll fly by here. And then the earthquake's going to happen here real quick.
Maybe.
If I didn't have that view screen on there to get that centered up, I would have lost all this.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe
a mole went underneath.
There's something there, but I managed to recover there eventually. And right after this, after recovery, you get the corona, kind of get that spike about 11 o'clock. You can see up there quite a bit.
Yeah.
And I think when the clouds kind of thin out, it burns it out more. And if I didn't have the clouds, I think it would have been more burned out and washed out.
Oh.
I'm thinking.
Clouds there, would you be able to see the shadow kind of go across it or anything like that?
No, not really. I actually, when I was viewing it, I didn't see the clouds. I couldn't see them. I just saw there was down below. You'll see there is a star. I'm not sure what it is down here somewhere. It pops out every now and then. I'm not sure if it.
They look like hot pixels to me.
There was some hot pixels on there, but there's one down below.
Oh, there may be something there.
Yeah, there was a couple of ones, but there is something over there. But,
Those references are hot pixels.
yeah, there's some hot pixels on it.
That could be one too.
But there was only one star I found was just right below it there. It comes and goes, not very, but it goes on. Okay, you got 2 minutes left here yet. It's not to the end.
Did you notice difference in temperature?
Oh yeah, it cooled right. Actually, this was actually the darkest eclipse I have experienced. It was, I think the clouds covered maybe made it a little bit darker, but yeah, it was dark because I was right on the center line, I think.
There goes your plane, Dave.
Yep, there goes a plane.
Yeah.
No, I said down below there, there's a star that showed up or something. I don't know if you can see it on that one or that's the only one I seen on it or
I
something.
don't think they don't even dim when the clouds go in front of them, so I think they're just all hot pixels.
Yeah, there's one that the clouds do cover it up, the one below. The other ones are hot pixels. I know there's some on there, but. Okay, we got a little over a minute left here. And the last 30 seconds here is like out of a sci-fi movie. It's the clouds.
30 seconds or so, maybe? Where were you at, Dave?
Oh, I got the last 30 seconds, well, 40 seconds or so. It's when it comes out of totality and there's a phenomena, it's called, what's the spikes called when you,
Streamers?
there's a name for them or something. Oh, no, you'll see it here on the end. Okay, we got 40. Okay, we're coming up on the end here. Oh, Sulphur Springs. Here's the ending, and it just keeps going. And you can still see the. And you get them. I'm curious on how them. Now you can't see the spikes as good. There's spikes there. And that's it. You can play it over 30 seconds if you want, but but that was it. That was my and that was all my setup just from that camera there. That all I carried, no telescope, and I couldn't have been happier.
Hi, I'm Karen Woodworth, and tonight I'm talking about my epic eclipse expedition. I'm the Kalamazoo Astronomical Society librarian. I'm employed as library ambassador at the Parchment Community Library, and I'm a musicologist. You'll see the relevance of this biographical information as we go along. My story begins in 2017 in Saluki Stadium at Southern Illinois University in Carbondale. My sons Daniel and Arthur and I had just witnessed totality, and it was a fantastic experience. Because Carbondale was the eclipse crossroads, I wanted to go back in 2024, but I had some doubts. My biggest doubt was the weather. You may remember that clouds covered the sun for the first part of totality, so we only saw the glorious end. When I thought about April in Illinois, I wasn't sure we'd have clear skies. So I decided to look in Texas for an event similar to what we experienced at SIU. I found the event I was looking for at Baylor University. Eclipse over Texas would be at McLean Stadium and was co-sponsored by the university, NASA, Lowell Observatory, and the Discovery Channel. It would include science talks and activity booths as well as food trucks. So I made hotel reservations in Waco and started planning the trip. I decided that my husband Clay and I would drive to Waco. It would be his first time seeing totality. Arthur and Daniel would fly into Dallas and we would pick them up on the way. I hadn't driven to Texas before, but the one thing I heard from people who had is that it takes a long time. So I decided to split the trip up into 3 days. I borrowed this map from greatamericaneclipse.com because it's the best map of the cities in the path of totality. I added the lines depicting our drive, and you can see that we followed the path of totality for a good part of the trip. I was a little sad to abandon Carbondale, so I decided we would stop there for some of their eclipse events. That way, even if Waco was clouded out, I would still feel like I had an eclipse experience. All good expeditions start with reference material and gear, right? Here's a photo of the books I brought along. They included my autographed copy of Tyler Nordgren's Sun, Moon, Earth from 2017's Astronomy Day, Mark Littman and Fred Espenak's Totality, American Eclipse by David Barron, a bound edition of the KAS special Great North American Eclipse newsletter, a bound edition of Celebrating the Wonder of Science in the Shadow, which was a special eclipse bulletin of the American Astronomical Society, and the Great 2024 Eclipse issue of Sky and Telescope magazine. Yes, I think you can tell I'm a librarian. But there was one great reference book I forgot. Can you guess which one? You're right if you guessed my copy of the Field Guide to the 2023 and 2024 solar eclipses, autographed by Michael Zeiler when he spoke at our meeting this year. The good news is I studied it plenty before we left home. And here's the observation gear I brought: a solar snap kit for my cell phone, mini sinoculars, 3D printed NASA pinhole projectors in the shapes of Illinois, Texas, and the United States, a safe shot filter for my cell phone, plastic eclipser shades, full-size sinoculars, KAS eclipse glasses, a viewer card, and a few other assorted eclipse glasses I picked up along the way. Because when I'm in the path of totality, people tend to fling eclipse shades at me. The first leg of our journey was 442 miles from Kalamazoo to Carbondale. We left Friday morning. Although Clay had come home on Thursday with a severe respiratory virus, his COVID tests were negative. So I bundled him into the car and drove him to Carbondale. Southern Illinois University had planned 4 days of eclipse activities, and we could attend 3 events. The first one was a concert on Friday night. While Clay slept in the hotel, I drove to Shryock Auditorium on the SIU campus. Remember that I'm a musicologist? I was thrilled to see that 12 choirs and bands from students from upper elementary through high school had gotten together to perform a concert of music composed since the 2017 eclipse. The program included 3 world premieres and 1 Illinois premiere. In other words, nobody had heard 3 of the pieces before, and nobody in Illinois had heard the 4th one. The 2 pieces specifically about the eclipse were the choir piece, A Solar Eclipse by Thomas Wilhoit, and the band piece, Into the Darkness by Carolyn Ahn. The second event was the Chalk Eclipse, a chalk art competition for regional junior high and high school students. This is an annual event, but the special theme for this year was the eclipse. These are just 4 examples of the drawings on the plaza between the auditorium and the student center. Clay was still sick the next morning, so I ate breakfast by myself. After realizing that the other 2 women in the breakfast room had been at the concert last night, I introduced myself and found out that one of them was composer Amanda S. Her choir composition, The Jellyfish, had received its premiere at the concert. We had a good conversation. My third Carbondale event was Saturday morning. Clay and I were registered to walk the Run from the Sun 5K. Proceeds from the 5K will be used to promote the professional development of future Air and Space Force officer candidates at SIUC. Clay had to stay in the hotel room and sleep, so I went by myself. On this slide, you can see my pre-race selfie, an astronomer from Adler Planetarium being interviewed by a reporter for the Weather Channel, and the registration tent. I finished the walk in 47 minutes and 29 seconds. Here's the 5K as recorded by my Fitbit and a photo of me at the finish line. My final stop at SIU was the Student Center, where EclipseCon was in progress. I didn't have time to attend. My goal was the campus Starbucks. Did you know that Buckminster Fuller, famous for the geodesic dome, taught at SIU? The Student Center Starbucks is decorated in his honor. But the real reason I was there was because I hoped to revive my husband with the Total Eclipse, a cafe vanilla frappuccino with mocha drizzle with coffee. Unlike the regular Eclipse, which was a cafe vanilla frappuccino with mocha drizzle but no coffee, and yeah, I still don't understand that one. We can talk about it later if you have the definitive answer. But I had the very beautiful and delicious iced lavender cream oat milk matcha. After a quick lunch at Culver's, where I did not buy the t-shirt, we said goodbye to Carbondale and headed down the road. Our destination was Texarkana, Texas, 468 miles away. They were planning a weekend celebration. I loved their logo so much that I really wanted to figure out a way to attend an event, but everything was done by 7 and we didn't get there until after 9 p.m. Sunday morning, we got up early to drive the 193 miles to Dallas. I applied the last of my glow-in-the-dark eclipse tattoos from greatamericaneclipse.com. My dad had just turned 84 on Saturday, and we had a birthday celebration at the home of my relative Elaine in Dallas. They were all going to watch the eclipse from her backyard on Monday. And yes, I'm wearing my glow-in-the-dark eclipse t-shirt in this photo. By 3 o'clock, we were back in the car and ready to drive the last 99 miles to Waco. We had tickets to a special concert that evening. In January, I received an email at the library from David Barron. His book, American Eclipse, was being republished in a new 2024 edition, and he had sent a link to a free book club kit. I went to the website and discovered that the book was being turned into a Broadway musical, and a preview concert of the musical was going to be performed at Baylor University the night before the eclipse. 6 Broadway musical actors were featured in the performance. Vocal music students from Baylor University sang the chorus parts. And in between the 9 selections, director Bill Rausch interviewed both David Barron and Michael John LaChiusa, who's writing the libretto and music, about their approach to the story of the 1878 American eclipse. It was fantastic. If the show ever goes into full production, I highly recommend it. David Barron was nice enough to sign my copy of American Eclipse when I tracked him down in the lobby after the concert. And it was a great surprise over breakfast in the hotel the next morning when he came in and offered everyone NASA eclipse glasses. This is a view of the crazy roundabout outside our hotel. Notice the sky. Eclipse morning was completely overcast when we woke up. We took a shuttle bus to McLean Stadium. The festival was actually in Touchdown Alley, which is a grassy area alongside the Brazos River next to the stadium. Here I am, ready for a day of observing the sun. I have lots of sunscreen on. After we listened to the first talk, we wandered around the STEAM Zone activity booths. NASA's tents were very popular. Here's the crowd listening to one of the talks. You can see McLean Stadium in the background. There were 14,000 of us, but there was plenty of room. Here's what the sky looked like at 11:59, just 22 minutes before first contact. We were a little worried. Arthur and I went to get lunch for everyone right around the time of first contact, which happened at 12:20 in Waco. By 12:30, the clouds had started to clear. One astronomer had his telescope set up right in the middle of the lunch action. I accidentally took a photo of the sun without a filter 24 minutes before totality. I practiced with my solar snap kit, but I didn't do very well on eclipse day. These are the best 2 photos I took during the partial phases. I took the one on the left when the clouds cleared and I could see a little bite out of the sun. It's not visible in the photo. I took the one on the right when the sun was just a tiny crescent, but clearly too much light came in. Arthur helped me get this pinhole projector photo. Here are Daniel and Arthur putting their KAS eclipse glasses to good use. Here's one of me. Now you can see the sky losing some of its color. I took some photos during totality, but they were accidental. After our 2017 experience in Carbondale, I wish that I would have had an audio recording of the reaction in Sulphur Stadium to totality. So I decided that this time I would get an audio recording by just wearing my cell phone around my neck, starting a video recording before totality without worrying about aiming the camera and letting it run all the way through, maybe trying to get totality in the frame at some point. Unfortunately, somewhere along the way, I accidentally hit the photo button instead of video. So I didn't get the audio I had planned for, but I did get an accidental video of totality happening. That's the video I'll show you next. Of course, totality didn't really look like what you'll see. The camera had too much light coming in to show the black disk in front of the sun, but I liked the video anyway, and be sure to listen to the crowd reaction. And it's right there in the middle if you can do the play at the bottom. There you go. Is it that one?
Now's your time.
This is my last slide. A few minutes after totality ended, I asked my family to share their thoughts about seeing the eclipse, and then I recorded mine so that I wouldn't forget any details. When I talk about the 5 o'clock position, though, I really meant 5:30. And so play that one, please.
Where's the hassle because the clouds, let it see the sun. And, you can see different prominence of the corona around the moon. There are a couple dots on the bottom, right? Some over craters. But they look like one until the thinner cloud came over and filled out a little bit more, and you can see there was actually 2 separate dots.
I thought it went, yeah.
Pretty amazing. Indescribable. Words cannot say. I don't know.
Okay, so here's what I remember about totality. I remember that it was amazing to take out my glasses and see the moon just over the sun. And the corona, at first, it looked really even around to me, and then I could see when Arthur pointed out that there were streamers coming out of it. Let's see, I think they were like maybe at 7 o'clock position and 10 or 11 o'clock position and 5 o'clock position. I did see a red dot down at the bottom, which I assume wasn't prominent, but it was really red. And it did look like the little red dot down there, sort of in the 5 o'clock position. And I could see 2 planets, one to the right that was brighter and bigger, and one to the left, almost where the clouds were, that was a little smaller. I did look around and see the 360-degree sunset, and it was just amazing. And the temperature went down and then picked up, and then we saw the diamond ring, and we put our glasses back on, and the sun was this tiny, tiny little sliver. In closing, my epic eclipse expedition was everything I hoped it would be. Driving 1,202 miles down to Waco paid off. We had a glorious view of totality for 4 minutes and 13 seconds. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Don Stilwell. I'm a member of the KAS.
And I'm Jim Bradshaw, member of the KES. Thanks to the Don.
This is my grandson, Connor. I don't know if he's technically a member of the KAS, but I'm going to say since he's a grandson, I have a family membership. We'll call him a member of the KAS for this purpose. So first picture here is in my backyard, and like some other people I know who'd said they tried to set up a head and check out their equipment. That's me checking out my equipment. And you can see I've got a 92 millimeter TMB apochromatic 5.4 f5.4, and it turns out it gives me in my little sun funnel the exact aspect I wanted to see throughout the whole eclipse. Now the cool thing about this is the German equatorial mount, and I've got the battery turned on, so once I get it set, it's got a clock drive. I don't have to touch it, right? Important to remember that. So yeah, see, I'm pretty happy there. Okay, you can go to the next one. Now our whole group included us 3, plus I'm not going to include the rest of the people because I know Mike has got a nice group photo, and in June he's going to cover all the other people that were there. So we started in Fort Wayne, and we stayed near there and thought we would check out things on the weather maps, decide where to go from there. Our first thought was, before we went down, a day or two before, that I wanted to go somewhere between Lima, Ohioans, Lima, and Wapakoneta. It turned out the day before I was looking at percentages of what would be the best place to be, and around Wapakoneta was at 54% chance of clear, and as you went south, it was getting less and less and less until you got down to Muncie, and it was about 39% chance of clear. So we had a big confab at the hotel Monday morning, trying to decide what to do. Should we go back to Kalamazoo where it was perfect weather, but only 97% totality? Should we go over here where it was still around 50%,
But as we were talking, I look again, and guess what? Everything said 39% chance. And so at that point, what we had to do was decide, well, going back to Kalamazoo, or are we going to stay here and go for it? Thank goodness we decided to stay in Fort Wayne and go for it. Now we got to decide where to go. So Jack Price, who is not here tonight, he'll be here next month, said, let's go south. Let's go down, in the Muncie area. And so I was still not totally convinced. And he and Mike got out a satellite view, and there was a lovely big parking lot at a Walmart superstore, and it had the south end of the parking lot was wide open. So that's where we finally, after a lot of consternation and hand wringing, we decided that's where we'll go. So we all jumped in our cars from Fort Wayne and started down 27 to go down towards Muncie. And the city we decided on was Little Winchester right there. So we headed down. I'm in the car with my grandson, and all I could see was clouds. I get further along, more clouds. Further along, more clouds. I'm going down, more clouds. Get to Burn there, more clouds. And I'm going, what in the heck am I doing?
Yeah.
Get down to Portland, and I'm going, hey, some of those clouds are going away.
Yeah.
So we got down to Winchester, and we unloaded our equipment and people, and we looked up, by gosh, it's going to work. So it was a thumbs up situation. And I set up my telescope, got it all honed in on the sun. And then I started turning on the clock drive. Nothing happened. Gears were turned on the outside, but it would not turn the telescope. The doggone shaft between the clock drive and the mechanism to turn the telescope broke. So after all of that, I was going to have to do everything manually, turn the clock drive gear myself by hand. Fortunately, hand work. So go on to the third one, which is, it's going to play it. Now, here we are. Here's the whole eclipse. Watch it quick. It's going to go quickly. And here we go. We got the diamond ring. I mean, not diamond ring, excuse me, Bailey's beads, diamond ring. And then I said, you know what? I got to look at the sun. So I don't know what we got after that. So I'm looking up. And then I didn't get the second diamond ring, but here we are filling back in. And sunspot.
Yeah.
Then another sunspot filling back in. And so there's the eclipse. Wasn't that wonderful? So there's last contact right there. And so that was sort of in a very quick nutshell, of what happened. I don't know if I want to go to, can you locate, I think it's around in the 30s there where there's, we're filling in. Yeah, go back, that'll be better. Keep going all the way back to before the totality. Keep going right about, keep going. There, whoa, that's it, good.
Oh.
Now that's,
wow. Yeah.
that as we were looking at this, we all like to look at the moon eating the sunspots. So this was the second sunspot that was eaten. And then we liked on the other end, go ahead and play it through, just hit the go button now. And you'll notice, we'll go through it again. There's the Bailey's beads. Then the diamond ring, I was kind of shaking. Then you do notice some of the prominences, which we could see very well. And then here we are filling back in. Here comes the first sunspot filling back in, then the second spot filling back in. And that was sort of our happy time, and it was over. When we were there, I didn't pay good close attention in 2017. I was too, something happened in my sun funnel. I don't remember what it did, fell over something else, fiddle faddling around with that. I only got to see maybe, 20 seconds of totality. So this time when it came totality, I said, that's it, I'm looking. And it was great. And it did get, got a little cooler, and the lights came on in the parking lot. Some ducks flew in. settled down into the little water. We had a pond there.
Mhm.
And so I'm not going to tell everything because you're going to have something to
Oh,
say, right, Jim?
Okay. And while all this was going on, I was looking around too, like Don, and 360-degree sunset or sunrise. Well, sunset first. And like Don says, the temperature went down and the birds didn't know what to do. They did fly low and come into some trees and things. And then when I thought it was about the darkest, the parking lights came on and all kinds of ahs and woos and screams and yells. And it was just a phenomenal experience. I mean, wow. I'm glad Don talked me into it. It was great. And I had one of my brothers go with me, and he mentioned to me that he wanted to go. And I says, hey, we can go together. So we did, and had a family get together, and everybody helped everybody in the way of explaining, letting people see the images in their telescopes. And we just had a great time. And we didn't have traffic until north of Fort Wayne. We thought it was a accident or construction, but it was just everybody coming around and going up 69. So we had a great time.